get started. We actually have a very small amount of time to do some really fun stuff. My name is Wilson Rothman, as I said. These are my panelists. I'll introduce each one very quickly. Shireen over there, she is the co-founder and CEO of Nima Labs, which currently has a product on the market that does gluten food testing wherever you go. It's a portable device. You can just plug it in, or just throw food into it and test it if you're at a restaurant or wherever. Dror, Sharon, right there in the middle, is the CEO and co-founder of Consumer Physics. He also has a handheld device. It is called SCIO, S-C-I-O, and it's a spectrometer. I'll just leave it at that. That you can use to actually test quite a bit of different characteristics about food, from fat content to like in chocolate cocoa content. You can also, I've used it to tell the difference between marble and granite. It's a very versatile tool, and we'll get into that. And then we have Tristan Rouselle. He is from Aryballe Technologies. He's the CEO, and he has a robotic nose. It is not quite out on the market. I think he's got 3 months to go, but he can demonstrate some of its uses today. It is less of a consumer product at this time, but you'll be able to see where the consumer impact could be as we do our demos. So unlike a lot of these talks, we're going to do some demos. We're going to start with Shireen. So come on over here. Do you have a mic? Okay. I'm going to be the cameraman too, so we're going to kind of talk our way through this.
Great. So thank you for the introduction. Thanks all for coming. This is Nima, a portable device that allows people to test their food on the go. So to demo, what we're going to do is take some samples of food and load them in this one-time use disposable cartridge, and then put it in the sensor and wait between 2 and 4 minutes to see what the result is. So
you may recognize the food we're using.
Yeah. So this is, some ambiguous foods out there that I wasn't sure if there was gluten in them. So we're going to take some samples. Delicious and ambiguous. So what I'm going to do right now is just, thank you, take a sample, if you can see here, just a pea-sized amount of what's, let's say this was labeled gluten-free, and we just want to be sure.
And she screws it right until there's a little cracking sound. That's the liquids, the chemicals being released that are going to help this thing perform its test.
Yep, exactly. And then I just put it in the device, turn it on, and then I'm going to set up a second one here too. Here. And let's just get a little bit of the filling. Again, pea-sized amount. And
you can see it's thinking. It'll think for a little while, so we may come back to it.
Yep. Turn it in.
You can also hear it.
So it's a chemistry-based test, antibody technology. We got feedback on the noise that people actually like hearing that it's
My
working.
Kids love the noise. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Nima was designed for consumers that are traveling, eating out, wanted that extra data point to make sure that what they're about to eat is actually safe. And again, Nima is just taking a sample, so it's not going to guarantee everything on here is potentially free of gluten, but it gives you that extra data point.
All right, we're going to come back to Shireen because this thing may take up to 3 or maybe 4 minutes. All right, let's go to Dror. Dror, come on up. He's got some heavier duty foods here. You can see he's been shopping at Met Market. Oh, it's a great store.
At a local store.
Yeah, here, why don't you okay. You want me to hold it?
No, it's good. So what we have here is SCIO, which is the world's first handheld molecular sensor. It is a spectrometer, a near-infrared spectrometer. This is our handheld device. Since we're in the Smart Kitchen Summit, I can actually show you that this is the size of the next generation sensor, small enough and affordable enough to actually be embedded inside multiple kitchen appliances. We're now going to do a demo of, again, some of the things that are here. So, for example, if we want to know how sweet are those, for example, this pineapple. So I selected the pineapple, and I scanned the pineapple just so. So that light is all that you needed, that entire scan time, and that was less than 2 seconds. Sends it to the cloud, and you actually get the quality of that pineapple in real time. So that is a bricks measurement in real time.
That is quite an average pineapple.
And you can tell if any of you are, for example, from the food service industry, you can see how that can actually be implemented to control from farm when you actually buy the pineapple and source them all the way to the restaurant when you serve them. The next thing I'm going to do is go for the meats. So I'm going to go for the beef first. Again, something we bought last night. Same thing, I'm going to bring it close. You'll notice it's through the wrap, and I'll just click. That's the entire scan, and we'll see what it comes up with. So this is actually, if you can see, it actually gives you the nutritional content of this specific beef, hamburger patty in real time. How much fat, how many calories, how many proteins per serving size. We're now going to see.
It says 21 on your test.
What does it say here? Minimum 15, right? There you see. There you go. And the next one that we're going to do is actually the salmon, and you'll see the difference in caloric content and actually the nutrition content of these different meats. So same thing. You saw the light, very intuitive user experience, all connected to the cloud, and you can see that this is actually much, much, much healthier for you. Less than 2% fat, a lot of proteins, and the calories, is much lower.
Quick question: How does it know the quantity? I noticed when I was testing, it would say grams. Is it per something?
So it's per 100 grams, and you can change it in the menu.
I see. Okay, got it. Real quick, can you show us very quickly how to create your own app?
Excellent. So there is a mode, and we'll just get there. So if you can see my mini applets here, you can actually train the device, train the SIO to create your own little mini apps. You can scan different materials, see the difference between their spectral fingerprints, and then with the press of a button, you can actually create your own machine learning model, train the model in real time in the cloud. And we're probably the only platform today that can do it so robustly, so fast, and I think you played with it a little bit at home.
Yeah, I tried it out, and like I said, I put it on a marble surface and a granite surface, and then I went around my house looking for other surfaces, and it guessed pretty well which was marble and which was granite. So I was like, all right. So thank you very much, Dror. Let's come back to Shireen. I'll wait. Come on up. The test, as you can see, her test, well, maybe you can't. I didn't want to spoil it. So here she is. Here's the mic, and I'll...
Great. Ready for the reveal. And... gluten found! Shocker on both. Yeah, so even the filling there too, which, it has... Yeah, so right in there we took a little bit of the filling. So Nima really helps people have that additional data point and stay healthy. And then it's connected to an app as well, so you can actually see who in the Nima community has been testing restaurants here nearby. There's a Nima score.
They ate there?
They write what they ate. So let's see, Purple Cafe and Wine Bar. Let's see who tested here. This 2 dishes were tested here: salmon tartare, steelhead. There's a tip. This is from Arthur. Thank you, Arthur. And so he says, okay, ask for steelhead as simply cooked as possible, and they accommodated. He actually tested a sample, and it came up positive, or gluten-free.
Now, important question.
Yes.
You see this on the app. You go. Obviously, it's a good guidance. Do you test it yourself first?
I would test it, yes. But we want to get to a point where we're crowdsourcing all this data that you can walk into a restaurant and feel really comfortable. But there's always that risk of cross-contamination. Suppliers change, wait staff, communication. So there's always that risk of cross-contamination. So we recommend testing every time.
All right. Thanks. Let's get to Tristan. All right. Just scoot the table forward. I'm fine over there. Yeah, this is fine. And you guys will be fine, right? Okay. We have our robot nose. Okay. Why don't you explain what we're looking at?
Okay, so you must have heard of electronic nose. You also know that it's quite a difficult technical challenge because smells are chemical compounds and very difficult to record. So we found this technology 3-4 years ago, and developed it a way that eventually it allowed us to develop the first universal and portable electronic nose. So it's working pretty much for any kind of smells, okay, which is the big challenge. And the technology is very different from what people have seen so far, because it's essentially an optical nose with biochemical sensor. So the way it works is that, of course, you have to train it first. So I did that just before the demo, actually. And it's always good to eventually compare to air. So the 0 is air. And there are different options. So you must see on the screen. So one very simple option is, does it smell? Okay. And then you can try to either find the smell or find the family. So I will start with an easy one. So maybe you want to try it?
I'll give it a smell. It smells nice. It's very, okay, I'm not going to, right, it won't say nice. It'll say,
let's see. So
a lot of times we smell things that we can't necessarily guess. We just, yeah, they smell good or whatever. This thing will obviously be able to beeline right into it.
So it takes 5 seconds to make the recording, and then roughly 5 seconds to bring the results on the phone because it's Bluetooth connection. So, okay, so...
There you go.
Do you confirm?
I confirm. Lemon fruits.
Okay.
And Tristan told me earlier that one of the nice things about a universal smeller is that it brackets different families of smells together. So, for instance, the difference between lemon and orange is fairly minimal, whereas the difference between lemon and cheese or strawberry is very different.
Yeah, exactly.
And you need all those data points to get that kind of distinction.
So you asked me to do a difficult example. So I brought two...
but appropriate.
Appropriate, obviously. I brought two French cheese, okay? So I went through the custom, they didn't see it, because...
Bootleg cheese, people, right here on stage.
You cannot find those in a grocery store in the US, okay? So, but it can be very useful, because... So first, because it's quite difficult to distinguish, the first test I will do is, does it recognize at least the family? Okay, so find family. So you can see it's doing it live. So 5 seconds again to do the recording. So I can take it off.
Let's look inside there. This fancy cheese.
Fancy
cheese.
You want to put your nose on it?
I do.
Not too close.
Yeah. It's French. I can. And voila.
Okay. So yeah, so this is family, recognizing a family, okay? Because those two, especially because they stayed 2 or 3 days traveling with me. When they are French, it's not too difficult, but when they age, they tend to develop the same bacteria, and therefore, eventually, they will generate pretty much the same signature, okay? So what you have to know is that at the same time we are developing those sensors, we are trying to suggest a new classification tool, because for smell, this is lacking. There is no universal accepted classification tool, okay? So now we are going to do the difficult part. So out of those 2 French cheese, let's see if it can make some kind of difference. So I'm going to go back to find smell and not find family. So find smell.
You can hear it. There's a pump inside.
Yeah.
I think of it as like a little robotic or a big robotic butterfly or something with that proboscis sticking out, you know.
So this one does not always work, but here, yeah, it did work. So this is sheep, right? Brebis. So brebis affiné, especially. So it's very good cheese, but indeed, yeah. So this is
very cool. All right, let's stop there. Wonderful demo. Thank you very much. And let's just quickly grab that mic, and I'll go to the podium. Oh, you guys have. Okay.
You need to keep the mic.
I'll keep this one. Oh yeah, I'm gonna put away the camera before you all get seasick. There, okay. Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you for indulging us in these demos. I think that was. When I looked over who we were interviewing today, I was like, there's no way you guys would really get a handle on it without seeing it in person, so I'm glad we were all able to do that. Really, this is kind of in the few minutes we have left, let's talk about the kitchen and why this is extremely appropriate. All 3 of these things, appropriate but very different ways to give a new dimension to what's going on in the kitchen. Shireen, why don't you start?
Yeah, and this is, we're all really creating unprecedented data that we've never had before. And for Nima in particular, when we launched, we thought a lot of people would be using the device at restaurants when eating out. But what's been most interesting is people are using Nima at home about 30% of the time.
And what did they figure out?
They're finding that they're testing unclear labeled foods where you might see processed on an equipment that has shared wheat but is labeled gluten-free, not certified gluten-free. We see a lot of trust in the certifications, but it's more in that unclear labeling that's really confusing. And we're finding gluten in 1 out of 3 foods that are intended to be gluten-free or labeled gluten-free.
And not to throw any particular purveyor of fine foods under the bus, but the surprising one was...
Of finding foods on, what was it?
Trader Joe's.
Oh, right, yeah.
I love Trader Joe's, I'm just saying.
Trader Joe's, yeah. Trader Joe's actually, a lot of people are testing at Trader Joe's because there is that unclear labeling and for
so
food
many
allergens.
different pre-made meals, right?
Yeah, a lot of pre-made meals, and people who have dietary needs just want the quick bite, but also be safe. They don't want to play Russian roulette at dinner time.
And real quick, the kitchen application that you see coming next would be...
I think there's a lot of integration opportunities and also just more customizable tests that you can do and have multiple bases so you can do multiple tests at once and just figuring out how to design and integrate it in appliances and kitchens.
And then you're looking towards food allergens as well.
That's right.
I mean, beyond the gluten, you're looking at peanut.
Peanuts next in the pipeline, dairy, tree nut, and then eventually want to get to a point for whatever you care about, we can give you that instant information.
Right. Now, Dror, obviously, with yours, the size you demonstrated already, where do you see this thing fitting in?
So I think, in a kitchen, there are multiple appliances where you can see this being integrated in. And as you saw, it can give you real live data, as Shireen said, that we don't have before at the kitchen. The good thing about this technology that it's well known in the food supply chain, but in centralized labs. And now when you have this device out there, you can actually empower the consumers, and once it's integrated inside kitchen appliances or just as a standalone device, to either make those decisions or use it in new ways. And we have a open developer platform where we have by now thousands of third-party developers, whether they're businesses, appliance makers, individuals, app developers, that are taking this and creating new sets of data around potential freshness, potential usage inside different appliances.
Because you, even though you have a very cool-looking app that's got a lot of different directions you can go, that you don't see yourselves as app makers, right?
So we will always be, the ones that can be at the forefront and demonstrate how the technology can be used. And there are farm-to-fork usages. The cool thing from our perspective is the fact that there are people out there that can leverage this platform for a whole new consumer experience.
And speaking of farms, what's your latest news from your company?
Yeah, so the latest news a few months ago, one of the largest agriculture companies in the world, Cargill, actually launched a product based on this platform geared toward actually farms across the world. So first in the United States.
Feeding animals, right?
Yeah, so if you think of the digital nutrition space, which is what we just saw, there's us as humans kind of feeding the us, but there's also the entire animal side. So these are two huge industries, and again, farm to fork, we can see this going from consumers to the farm.
And Tristan, something you told me that struck me was that a lot of things are going on in an oven that maybe will smell a little late, perhaps. But if you had an electronic nose inside of an oven, you can tell what? What can you tell?
Yes, indeed. I mean, you can think about having an electronic nose in any home appliance, but I very much like the oven because this is the one where you want more than just temperature and a timer. You want something to help you to stop cooking when it's well done, and so an artificial nose could help because it could stop just right on time.
Yeah, the example you gave was the chicken, a roasted chicken. The smell, we all know, the difference between a raw chicken, a roasted chicken, and a burned chicken are pretty profound. But the minute you smell that burned chicken, it's way too late, right? But maybe this nose can detect different changes. Even if our noses are here we can, why can't we just smell it ourselves? These things can be trained to look for things that we're just not focusing on at the moment,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
And why would, say, a refrigerator be more of a challenge for an electronic nose?
Yeah, well, obviously, every fridge maker wants electronic nose, so they all ask us and they ask everybody, but it's not easy because at the same time you want to provide food safety, you have to know that the dangerous bacteria are not the more spenny one, and you will get confused between salmonella and, of course, cheese. which is very smelly but not dangerous at all. So it's not easy, and
So you claim.
and they want it. So we have to find a way, maybe by putting it in different compartments, not smelling the whole fridge, but we'll find a way.
So, so we're out of time, but real quick, when will the kitchen be a sensing kitchen? Timeline.
I think we're almost there. I think in the next 5 years we're gonna see much more integration and much more connected devices.
Dror?
Yeah, I mean, our small product is basically ready to ship, so I think within the next 2 to 4 years, things will already happen, and some of the people in the crowd, I think, are about to ship amazing things.
Yeah, pretty much the same. I guess for us right now the focus is on the industry, but in a couple of years we should be there.
Great. Well, thank you all for this fun 20 minutes of our lives.
Thank you.
I really appreciate our panelists for coming off and showing their wares. Thanks very much.
Thank you.